In 2005, Loyola Jesuit College, Abuja, Nigeria, lost 60 students in the Sosoliso plane crash. In total, 109 lives were lost in that crash. Kechi Okwuchi was the only student and one of the 2 people who survived the crash. A devastating plane crash, over 60% intensive burns, up to 5 weeks in medically induced coma, and over 75 surgeries to date have not stopped her. She joins me on the Justeve Show as she relives that terrible day. You're welcome back if you're just joining us. This is the Justeve Show, and we have as my guest today someone who is extremely inspirational to me, has been on a journey that most people have no idea what it's like. I remember a couple of years back, I read a book about a survivor of a plane crash, and the first few sentences were this: I have always wondered what it's like, what the passengers on board a plane that is about to crash, I've always wondered what they think, what goes through their minds before the plane goes down. Now I can tell you. I read that book from start to finish, and I was just weeping. I would like to say we're grateful that we have someone here today who has actually survived a plane crash, and I'm so honored and privileged to have you on the show. Kechi, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And of course, welcome to the UK.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now I have a ritual that I do when I have any guest on the show. We go back to the very, very beginning. You know, what were your growing up years like? Where were you born and stuff like that? Yes.
Okay, so I was born in Lagos in 1989.
Did you actually want to tell people how old you are?
Yeah, I don't mind. I'm 26. No problem saying that. Yeah. Yeah. So I was born in Lagos, and actually grew up in Aba, because after I was born, my parents moved down to Aba, where my dad's company is, and we lived there. Most of my childhood was spent there, except for most holidays that were spent in Lagos with my mom's side of the family. I grew really close with them, you know, growing up, and my childhood was really fun and wonderful. I was an only child up until I was 10, when my mom had her second child, my sister. And before then, though, I was never really lonely or anything like that. I liked being alone, and my parents lavished me with a lot of affection and care, and my relatives on both sides as well. You know, so I had a really nice, fun childhood. School was fun too. I made a lot of friends, but very few true friends who are still my friends now. And I remember just being a very carefree child. I loved playing, very girly. You know, I was the typical, you know, watch Disney movies and wear ballroom dresses if possible, you know, princess stuff and all that. I liked playing with Barbie dolls, and I loved reading fiction. You know, school books were like more of a an obligatory kind of thing. But yeah, so I just had lots of fun growing up, and especially with my cousins. I mean, I loved playing with them, hanging out with them, up until primary school, up to secondary school. Secondary school was in Abuja. So I started that when I was 11, 10 going on to 11. And LJC, Loyola Jesuit College in Abuja, was a different experience altogether from primary school. Also fun though, after I finally got my footing. My first year was very...
Because that was boarding school, right?
Yes, it was boarding school, yeah. And my first year was a little tricky, you know. I had to get into the flow of things. It took me a little while longer to do that, understanding how to study and all that kind of thing.
So to eventually be on your own.
Exactly, yeah, like, oh yeah, it was moving away, you know. It was typically like, it was basically like moving away for a long time, you know, from everything, you know. But I got used to it after like a week of being there and being around, you know, a lot of people that are my age. It was really fun. And I just made so many lifelong friends there, you know. I mean, the bond that I formed with the people that were in my set is something that I still have till today, to the point that when we meet, even after years, it's like we're just continuing conversations from yesterday. So it's really nice, and to still have that even now. And that was basically, you know, my childhood and my teenage years. Okay,
now going on, what did you want to be in life when you got into secondary school, when you were able to find your feet? I know that. Okay, what did you say? Okay, when I leave here, this is what I want to do.
I think at the time I probably thought I was going to be a lawyer. You know, just because It's usually either, you know,
the
medicine
typical,
or
the typical African parent thing. Yeah.
Because, you know, even though my parents specifically never told me go be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever, you know, I just knew, you know, growing up in that society, that these are the things that most people usually end up being. Like, those are the three main professions. So if I had to choose out of all of them, engineer, medical doctor, or lawyer, then lawyer made the most sense to me, because I don't have the aptitude for science at all. So it was going to be in that direction. And I liked government class, and I didn't mind history, and I loved English and you know, other classes like that, agricultural science and things like that. So that was kind of my mind, just, okay, I'll just, you know, focus on you know, all that art stuff, and then liberal arts, and focus on being a lawyer. But that was just, you know, just mechanical. Yeah, that was what I thought I was going to do after I finished school.
So you've just graduated, right?
From undergrad.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I studied economics and marketing.
Okay, so
completely different.
There you have it. And what do you want to do with that?
What I want to do, my dream would be to work in the UN under some kind of public health administration kind of departments, because I've been in hospitals because of what happened to me for a very long time.
Come back to that.
Yeah, so I just really like the environment. I'm used to it, and I don't mind it at all. I feel like I would thrive in that kind of environment. So I really would like to be a part of some kind of department that helps people that were in my kind of situation. It doesn't have to be, you know, burns specifically, but just anything to do with health. And so that's what I want to do with my economics, you know, and eventually I hope to get like a master's degree in economics as well. Next fall, I'm going to start that. So that's kind of the direction I'm taking my life in right now.
That's fantastic. We're going to go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll be hearing Kechi's story. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a minute.
Stuck in that shocked feeling, like, what is actually happening right now? Like, is this actually really happening? That's where my mind was. I was just frozen in that state. How all those people that when I last saw them was the last time, you know? And then, like, before I could even think about every single person, like, my mind just like zeroed in on
You're welcome back. This is the Justeve Show, and we have today as our guest, Kechi. You're welcome again to the show.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about your story now. Let's take us back to the morning you woke up on the day of this crash.
It was a very regular morning. I mean, I was in school still, so it was a Saturday morning, and usually on Saturday, that's when everyone that lives outside of Abuja, where the school is located, would board a bus from the campus to the airport, and then we would go from there to wherever we live in Nigeria. So that was what that Saturday morning was like. And I woke up, you know, we usually wake up at like 5 to get ready, have an early breakfast. Then those of us, the students kind of get sectioned
Had you been doing this journey on a regular basis, or was that your first time?
No.
Okay.
This is something that happens after every semester is over, you know, after you're done with all your classes, and then you go on for different breaks. Usually we all just section off and go off on plane back to wherever our homes are. So this is routine, basically. Routine. And this was in SS3. This was after my first semester as an SS3 student, you know, my final year. Then. I was 16. Yeah. And so there was nothing, I mean, this was just completely routine. This is how I always get home. It was always by plane, and then coming back to school, you know, by plane as well when the next semester starts. So there was nothing odd or anything about it. It was a very normal morning. Everything was normal. I said goodbye to my friends, you know.
You didn't have any, you know, some people when they go out, before they leave, they have some kind of guts feeling, not really understanding what it is. Nope. You had nothing like that?
Nothing at all.
Okay.
Completely normal day. And so yeah, the last friend I said goodbye to that day was Wumi, I remember. And because she lives in Abuja, so she wasn't, she usually goes like around 10. Her parents come and pick her up or something. But it was just, you know, for us, we have to leave really early for an early flight. So that was just how that morning was. It was just very normal. You know, had my box, put in the bus, boarded the bus, sat beside a very close friend of mine, and we all headed to the airport, myself and 60 other students that live in the east part of Nigeria. And then, so that's basically how that morning was.
And when you got to the airport, tell us how the check-in and everything was.
It was just, again, normal. You know, we got there, left our boxes with the, because a parent usually travels with us, but then doesn't board the plane. I mean, usually just organizes everything. And then there's always a teacher too that comes along with the bus to make sure that everything is fine before we get on the plane. And
so when you're on the plane, you're on your own.
Yeah, we're just on our own. Yeah.
Now you were 16 and you were in SS3.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have juniors?
There was a mix.
Okay, it was a mix. Okay.
There were 61 of us, and all from JS1 to SS3.
Okay.
Lived in that PH Owerri area.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got there and they took our luggage, and then we went and sat in the lounge, and our plane was delayed. You know, again, usual, because usually we get there and we always have to wait for at least 3 hours before the plane arrives. So we were just milling around the lounge and, you know, buying food from the kiosks around and talking, gisting, you know, just generally waiting for the plane to arrive. And then it finally arrived, and I remember, you know, as we were, you know, in lining up to get to the gate where they would check our tickets and everything before we start walking down the runway to the plane. Then a lot of the other people that were on the plane kind of like let the students go first, you know, because they knew we were waiting for a long time and they recognized our checks and our uniforms, and they're like, oh, that, you know, you guys, you know, young kids go in first, that kind of thing. So there were 109 passengers total on the plane, including the flight crew.
Yeah.
And so we all just, you know, went on the plane and boarded. And I was in 4A, because I was in like the seats, the aisle seats, right before, right after the first class places filled. Yeah. Then there's a demarcation, and then there's the first seat of coach, and that's where I was. I remember, and I was in the aisle, and my mom usually gets me a window seat. So I remember being kind of upset about that, because you know, I usually like seeing like what's happening and everything. And then my friend was on the aisle seat right next to me. And
that's on the
right next to me.
Okay, right next.
You know, after the little space, the little walkway, then the seat right next to me. So she was there, and that's where we were. So we sat down, and you know, the plane took off, and everything was. It was a very uneventful flight, just normal. There was nothing weird happening. It wasn't until later that things got really weird, like towards when the plane starts descending, and you know. So everything was normal, you know, so far. I had no reason to complain. Normal hour-and-a-half flight. So it was when the pilot made the announcement that, you know, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing in the Port Harcourt airport soon. So, you know, just make sure your seatbelts are fastened and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, turbulence started and everything was still normal, but then it started getting really like more frequent and more like way more shaky. And
it wasn't raining.
It wasn't. No, I don't remember it raining. Maybe I don't know if it was or not. Especially, I couldn't see out the window, especially, so I can't really tell. But I do know that it just started shaking more. I don't know why. And then this lady at the back kind of panicked everyone when she like kind of shouted, "Is this plane trying to land?" You know, she just made that remark, and when she did that, like everyone kind of started panicking, and I don't really remember. Like everything that I see is mostly in kind of slow motion, because even though I know it was probably happening really fast, because I just remember being very stunned and in shock. I couldn't even be afraid. I was just stuck in that shocked feeling, like what is actually happening right now? Like, is this actually really happening? That's where my mind was. I was just frozen in that state. And I remember just sitting there. I didn't even look around, just like frozen shock, just like that. And I remember like reaching out to hold my friend's hand, and I remember looking at her face, and you know, she was like, I mean, Tucker was just looking at me, like her eyes were wide, and probably I looked the same too, just like, you know, what. So I remember like, you know, in my head I was like thinking, what do we do? Do we pray or what? Like I have no idea, like how do you handle this kind of thing? And so that was what ran through my mind. But you know, there was no time to even say like in Jesus' name. There was nothing. You know, just the next thing was this like metal, like scraping metal sound, and it just like really, it just got to me. You know, it was like loud in my ears, and my whole head was ringing. And the next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital in South Africa. And 5 weeks later.
5 weeks later. Oh dear. And who were the first people you saw when you woke up?
When I opened my eyes, the first person I saw was the nurse. but the first voice I heard is my mom's. I remember while in my subconscious, I used to hear my mom's voice she was always on repeat telling me, hello Kechi, hey, are you okay? That mommy's here, you were in a plane crash, you were in an accident, you're really badly hurt, but you're going to be okay. You're in South Africa, it's called Mill Park Hospital, you're going to be okay, they're going to take care of you, don't worry, I love you. Like, I remember hearing that on repeat, So when I opened my eyes, because the first thing the nurse did was to tell me, like, to blink once for yes and to blink two for no. And she wanted to make sure that I could understand what she was saying, and I was, I had my wits about me. So she was like, can you hear me? And then I kind of blinked once, and then she said, are you in pain? Can you feel it? And then I blinked twice. And then my mom was like, Kechi, can you see me? And then I was like, I blinked once. Like, I remember that process happening. But the process of waking up was really calm for me, because probably because I was really numb from all the medication inside, but also because I was very conscious of what had happened because of that. Because apparently my mom had been telling me all that stuff while I was sleeping, and I could hear her. So I woke up and I was very aware. I was in an accident. I was in a plane crash, and I'm in the hospital getting better. And in South Africa, like, I knew all these details when I opened my eyes. So it wasn't a panicked waking up, which was really good, because sometimes the nurses told me that sometimes people can wake up and die from the shock of what happened. So I'm really grateful to God that actually happened. So that was how I woke up, very gradually like that. And then I saw the nurse in front of me, and then beside me, she came forward, and I saw my mom, and then she talked to me. But by that time she was already kind of familiar because I knew that she was there. Yeah, so it was a huge comfort, just to know that, knowing that she's just been there watching over me. Yeah.
Okay, I know this is pretty emotional, but when you were told that the others didn't make it, what was?
Yeah, because when I first woke up, and I knew everything that had happened, and I was aware that I was in an accident and plane crash and all that, but I was alive. So my assumption was that everyone else was. Obviously, it was bad, to the point that I'm all bandaged up and everything, but maybe that's the state everyone else is in as well, just in hospital somewhere getting better. So apparently you don't tell someone that kind of traumatic thing until they're well enough to be able to handle it physically. But then the emotional part is something that you can never really be sure, So it was at the 4-month mark that they told me, and the psychologist and counselor came in, and with my mom was there. And they came in and told me. So at first, actually, because before that, I think around after 3 months being in the ICU, my mom kind of tested the waters a bit, because she told me, I asked her one time about what happened, where's everyone else, just outright. And she told me that they're fine. That's what she said, that everyone is fine, But that one boy died, that one boy from my school, that a junior that I didn't know him, that little boy, JS1 or something. And I remember just breaking down and crying and just thinking about his parents and how devastated they must be, and I couldn't. So in her mind, that was a clue that there's no way I would be able to start take the fact that every other person died too. So that was the first clue, okay, not yet, But this was someone that I didn't even know apparently, and so if I was taking it that hard, then how would I take it if I knew the rest of it? So it was later on, a month later, that they now decided that they couldn't keep it from me forever. So they came in, and then I remember the counselor, she was the one that came in and told me what happened. And it was just, I can't even describe it really. I can't. Up till then, I thought that I was in pain, from physical and from the burns and all that. But when I just started thinking about how all those people that when I last saw them was the last time, and then before I could even think about every single person, my mind just zeroed in on Toke,
the one you held her hand,
and I just I just remember crying like I've never cried in my life. The amount of tears that I was crying was not enough to really express the amount of pain that was inside. No matter how much I cried, it just didn't stop hurting. I didn't know what to do. I just kept on. And I remember my mom she came in when she heard me crying, and she almost broke down, you know. And I remember kind of like stopping and just tell her that she can't do that, because, you know, I mean, she's my rock. If she starts crying,
then that means
it's just over for me. And she just like steeled up immediately. She just stopped immediately. She was like, it's okay. She just held my hand, and I remember just continuing and just crying. I cried for days. You know, I would sleep and wake up and cry. I would cry myself to sleep. And then I would dream about them so much, you know, and it's always in school, you know, the setting was always in school, and I still do, today I still dream about them. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to go home, you know, for this anniversary coming up, so I could go back to LJC and just get some closure. But like,
yeah, I think you need that.
So that's just, I mean, it just went on for days, you know, that's how that feeling was.
A couple of months ago, I was in hospital myself. I was ill, and mine wasn't, it's not, it can't even compare. And I remember the day the doctor came and told me that, oh, you can go home today. I was dancing. And then 5 minutes after he had told me, the lady that was, you know, lying next to me, her doctor came and told her that she had cancer.
Oh my God. And
I just felt like the ground should open and bury me. Here's me rejoicing that I'm going home, and I'm now hearing that someone, you know, has been diagnosed with cancer. Now, hearing that you and one other person were the only survivors, how does that make you feel?
At the time, I remember just feeling very sad. I just remember feeling this grief that other parents were mourning and had buried their children, and didn't even get the chance to like see them try to get better, or get the chance to, I mean, the last time they saw them, maybe like a visiting day or something like that, you know. And I don't know, and then I remember that there was a lady who had like all her 3 children on that plane, you know, and I knew all of them too. They were all in my house, and I remember just feeling like the parents were just on my mind a lot. So you're just thinking about the amount of pain they were going through, and like, how are they ever going to get over this? Like, I know how my mom would feel if she had lost me, like, and I know how she's feeling. You've just seen me like this. I mean, how much more so for someone who has lost their child? Like, it's a kind of pain that no parent should ever go through. And,
exactly.
And you know, it really hurt me deeply that that's what they were going through, you know. But at the same time, I didn't want to allow myself to ask God why. You know, that's one question that never really crossed my mind. I don't even know why. I just know that there was no, I mean, what would be the answer to that? There's no reason to even go down that path, asking why. Because how would you ever know? It's God. He knows everything and knows what happens. And, you know, I can't, in my own, like, finite, like, wisdom, know what God's ultimate plan is. I don't know why he would permit such a thing to happen.
Yeah, but as the years go by, I guess you're beginning to see some kind of reason why. At the time, you wouldn't know. I'll tell you what. You know, God knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. Now, when I said I wanted to interview you, it was because there are people out there who grumble and complain and moan about everything, and I put my hands up. I'm one of those people. I would complain about everything if it's not going my way, you know. And here's you. I mean, this is the worst kind of experience that anybody could have, and just like you're saying, you wouldn't want to wish it on anybody. But you've come out of it. Not many people survive. We all know that, but you've come out of it. What do you want to, you know, to tell people out there about life as a whole? In other words, I'm asking, how do you see life now?
Well, to be honest, I'm still learning. I mean, I really don't know much about it myself either. Like, despite what happened, this is me just, my main motivation in everything that I do, everything I've done since the accident is to live my life in a wholesome way and in a way that I know would make my parents proud, would make God proud, and would do the souls of those who passed away proud as well. I don't want their lives to have been lost in vain. So I try to live an exemplary life as much to the best of my ability to kind of give some solace to those parents who lost their children. I feel like, a lot of my wounds, were on the outside, but there are a lot of wounds that the ones that don't ever really heal are the ones that are on the inside. Yeah. And I didn't feel a lot of that. Like the outside scars, they heal and they're there, but they're just outside. But my inner spirit is at peace for the most part all the time, and I feel good on the inside. But I don't know if I can say the same for those people who lost their children, because that's a hole that is hard to ever fill with anything else.
And that's why you're an inspiration. You might not understand it. You might not understand it, but I guess that's it. It goes to tell you, for me, that life is not our own.
Yes.
Live
Yes.
each day as though it were your last.
Yes,
and forget about everything.
I agree with that.
Because
Life
like I
is not our
said,
own.
people moan about everything. If they miss the bus or they miss the train,
I moan about stuff too all the time. Like,
no, but I'm sure. But when I guess when you think back that, hey, I'm here.
True.
Yeah.
True. In the grand scheme of things, a lot of things don't really seem so small. For sure. Yeah, for sure. I always backtrack like that in my head too. I mean, I really feel like I'm living on like a second chance. I mean, that's literally what I think it is. And, I'd be a fool to waste it. I don't even, not like my life was going in a bad direction when this happened or anything. It's just, I just had more reason to make sure that it doesn't go in a bad direction. Before I was just going along because my parents just believe that it's good for a child to be good. And I did my best just, make my parents happy. That was it. But then as I grew up, and after this happened, it became also something that I believed as well, not just my parents. Good to be good for yourself and for others too, that kind of thing. So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like my thoughts may be a little idealistic, but it's worked for me so far, and I just don't want to ever feel like. I don't want to ever one day get to the point where I can say, I finished learning all I can learn, and I'm
you don't stop learning till you're dead.
Exactly.
You don't.
Yeah. So I just want to also continue living very open-minded too, and just trying to make sure that I keep on, like, learning from any experience and appreciating all the support I get along with it too. That's kind of. You
said you were going. You want to go back to your school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would be the aim?
The aim, my master's.
Yeah. No. Go back to your secondary school.
Oh, LJC.
For the 10th year. Which will be on the.
It's on the 19th. The memorial is on the 19th,
okay.
But I'm going to Port Harcourt on December 10th.
Okay, that
for
was
the main, where the parents are going to also be for like a ceremony to remember. After like a 10-year mark is a big deal, so I want to be there for that too. But the 19th is a memorial service kind of, and it's going to be myself and a lot of other alumni that hopefully a lot from my set too, because I miss them a lot. I haven't seen them in a while. But the main aim for me is, like I said before, closure. That's definitely it for me, because I kind of was thrust out of that school so sharply, and I haven't been able to go back since. And because of that, it's always on my mind, and it's always in my dreams. And my mind is still on it. I'm always being pulled back there, mentally.
Yeah, because it means that you need to.
Yes, I definitely need to go back and just look around and see, familiar teachers, or if they're still there. And I don't think any student that's there I'm going to know except maybe my cousin. But he's not even going to be. We'll be going during it's like Christmas holidays, so it's going to be like pretty much empty except for those who come for the memorial. But yeah, so I'm hoping to see familiar faces, and the familiar campus, the one I'm seeing in my head. to like, see how it looks in real life and compare and all that. And it's going to be very bittersweet for sure. I know that. I don't know. I don't like getting too emotional, but I feel like it's going to happen either way. because I haven't been there in a while, and it's had a lot of meaning for me. So
okay, unfortunately we don't have much time, but just before we go, look in this camera and tell people out there, young people, older people too, people like you, you know, your age, just say a word for them.
Okay. I know it's easy to say, you know, don't give up, you know, and, you know, there's hope and all those things because, you know, for someone like me, I've actually seen that, you know, not giving up and overcoming obstacles is possible and there is hope. And so it may seem like maybe no one understands your struggle or that, you know, no one understands you and the hurdle is too high for you. But I believe that everyone has the capacity in them to as long as they have breath in them, to overcome any obstacle. Like, to me, every obstacle is not really an obstacle, it's just a challenge. And the best thing about obstacles is that moment when you can look back and realize that it wasn't even that serious. Like, you could, I mean, obviously you can overcome it, and like, no matter what you do. So like, I always feel like things look too big until you've passed that hurdle, and then it's like it's behind you, and you realize that you realize how strong you actually are. You learn more about yourself like that. So I feel like it's a reason to be optimistic. You know, when you see a challenge, be optimistic about overcoming it, because looking back at it makes you more reassured. And I feel like it's worth it to feel that way. So just keep striving, and I just always pray that, you know, things always work out for people, because there are a lot of people suffering out there, and I just pray that God is stays with all of us all the time.
Oh, thank you very much. Can I give you a hug?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I thought I was a strong woman. I'm not strong compared to you. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on the Justeve Show.
Thank you for having me.
And I wish you all the best in all your endeavors in future.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's our show for today. It has been very emotional for me. I don't understand how a tear didn't drop, because I actually thought I was going to tear up. But well, yeah, I hope you've picked up one or two things from me talking with Kechi today. Well, that's it for today. We'll do this again sometime soon. Till then, you go have yourself a wonderful time. God bless and goodbye. Thank you.